something that keeps coming up in the headlines in kind of refreshed ways is the fact that we are all losing website traffic, and even the most popular websites are. So IAC, which is the owner of some of the most popular websites like All Recipes, Looker.com, People, The Stewart Living, and just many, many more. IAC has said the portion of our traffic that comes from Google search has declined from 52% to 28%. Groupon and even SEO darling NerdWallet have all talked about the changing behavior of Google search, and they're all having declining traffic. And this is something that like we've seen at SparkToro, Ahrefs, SEMrush. We've all done some research around this, around like the decline of referral traffic. And a couple months ago, Ahrefs said the average website's traffic is down around 20%. And even last week when we were talking about how there's more and more bot traffic now, bots are like half the internet. So part of it is like overall websites are losing referral traffic from Google, but also in general, there's more and more bot traffic. And I believe it was SEMrush that said that they've estimated by 2028, bot traffic will exceed human beings traffic, right? So we have this like referral traffic problem and this bot problem. And where do we go from here, right? We need to think more than ever about what people are looking for online, or maybe even just what people are looking for in general, right? And I believe what people are looking for is experiences. That's why Google and Reddit have that partnership, right? Where oftentimes when you're looking for an opinion or a discussion, or just when you're looking for something, right? Now, oftentimes we see that a Reddit result will come up at the top.
I think they're looking for the human, right? I mean, that chart that just came out citing the top 10 sources of where AI summaries come from. And it's like Reddit, Wikipedia, YouTube, Google, Yelp, Facebook, Amazon, TripAdvisor, Mapbox, and OpenStreetMap. And I think what all of those have in common is they're creating human content. Like this is people talking about their own personal experiences, people asking other people and then getting answers to that. It's where most of us are uploading details of our lives, what we like, what we don't like.
And why we don't like them or why we do like them. I mean, these are all versions of marketplaces, versions of review sites, right? So people are trying to understand experiences. And the other thing is, of the clicks that Google is sending, about a quarter of them go to a Google-owned entity. So something like YouTube, where again, people are probably looking for some kind of experience. And so now marketers have to think more and more about how they can create or deliver on these types of experiences. And funny enough, like one other example that a couple of people have sent to me, including you, Sonia, was this article about InStyle's The Intern series. There's a quote there where the person from InStyle is talking about their strategy for The Intern. And it's a mockumentary style series, 1.5 to 2 minute video series on TikTok and Instagram. And if you search for it on Google, you'll find it on InStyle's website as standalone videos. So it's also just there on their website. And it's completely just a story, a narrative-driven channel. It has nothing to do really with InStyle. It's about interns who work at InStyle, but there's nothing that actually points people to go to the InStyle website. All of the content is meant to be consumed on the social platform. It is created specifically for that platform, and InStyle is tracking, all the usual engagement metrics, but they're not tracking, at least anyway that they're saying publicly. They're not tracking the ROI of like, oh, is this converting new magazine subscriptions, right? I mean,
is it a separate channel?
It's a separate channel, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Here is where I take time to plug my new thing. So one of the things that I started realizing as we're talking about, the podcast and in working with clients in my fractional CMO work is that this is a problem now, right? A lot of companies have been creating their, content, or they have like a blog content, and they've noticed that there's just no traffic coming to it, right? I've been kind of working to come up with a way to counteract that, right? And so that's where I came up with this, content creation service called Yapping as a Service, where it's like we're taking the founder and like their experience and like the things that they know about the industry, the trends, what's happening in their world, and using that to create content that doesn't really exist right now. And I found that like most founders have a lot of thoughts about like what's happening. They just aren't getting it out there. And so we've been talking about this, on the podcast, and I'm starting to think about like, when I work with my clients, like, and I like ask them like questions about like what they're thinking about and the industry that they're in, they all have very good like answers for like where they see the future going and like what they want to see change, what they know needs to change. And then nobody's writing about this. So I keep seeing this like, hole that's like created by all these like industries, and especially as we're losing like magazines that like talk about this stuff, the tech journals only want to talk about like the hottest new startups that like raised $15 million from Andreessen Horowitz, wink wink. So it's like really hard for them to get attention, and so now instead of creating those blogs on their website, I'm suggesting that they create it on Substack, on LinkedIn, where like their target audience already is and is looking for that sort of content. So that's why I'm telling them, it's like you have to focus on like your case studies, which like nobody else can talk about, right? Because you're the one that's like talking to your consumer. What are they saying about like the problems that they're facing? Like how do you turn those into ideas for like the type of content that other people in that situation also have? How are you solving these problems? What sort of regulations or regulatory changes are you seeing coming up? Most industries are having huge changes right now because of the Trump administration, right? Whether that's tariffs, whether that's like legal hurdles, whether that's, price changes that they're having to do. All these things are fodder for content that you can be using to create and get like your startup out there. And especially you as a founder. I mean, most of us have heard, Lulu Chang Meservey talk about going direct. This is what that means, right? It's like talking about like what you see in your industry that is like you can put you at the forefront of like what is going on and like who's talking about it. And if nobody's talking about it, this is like your opportunity to talk about it, right? And that's going to be a way to counteract all this like lack of traffic that most people are getting. And I really see this as being like the way that the people that want to grow and like grow an audience, or companies that want to bring in more leads are going to be bringing in those leads.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing with the decline of web traffic, the decline of Google search, is Google search or organic traffic is no longer the most viable growth strategy. Like if you're starting today, or just in general, you can't just count on Google sending you the search traffic. You have to figure out where your audience is, what they're doing, where they're already paying attention, and then figure out how to position yourself there, like through this thought leadership content, for instance, and try to catch them where they already are.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's just such an opportunity right now, especially for the companies that like take it seriously. And a lot of us marketers, right? You're always looking for a new way to bring in more leads. This is kind of like the reality of what we're facing, right? Where it's just like, even within Google, right? Where it's like when people are searching for something, like it's still the main thing that they do is bring up the, AI summary. So if you're not getting, slipped into that, you're probably not going to be, coming up. Like right now, I was looking something up, and then I went back because in my mind, the furthest button on the left is like the all, but it's now the AI summary. So I went into that. I'm like, why is it taking so long? And it's like, oh, it's because the AI summary is like working to get me like all this information. And I had to click over to the all just to, give me all the search results, right? So they're already pushing users to be using their, AI summary. And if you're not getting ahead of that, it's going to be really hard for you to, come up with a strategy later.